clicking it. There we go. Okay, that worked out.
I'm going to check to see if we're live.
We are not having technical difficulties at this present time. We are just confirming and not denying our viewers the possibility of knowing us. And not denying our viewers the possibility of knowing us. There we go. We work. Yay!
All right. Welcome to Biblical Chili, everybody. Yeah, we've been going through the parables, and today's parable is no exception. Tom said he'll be joining us in a little bit, but in the meantime, Tony and I are going to shadow puppet. No, I'm kidding. So today we're going to be playing in the parable of the talents. I wish I had. I think. I wanted to write some stuff down about it, but I ran out of time. So this parable is in Matthew
25.
Yeah, it's in Matthew 25. But the interesting thing about it is, if you know anything about Matthew, you're at the end, which means that Jesus is going to be crucified and all the stuff that happens around that. Like Matthew only has, what, 29 chapters? 28 chapters. We are 3 chapters away from the end of Jesus' ministry before he ascends and goes to heaven, the whole shebang. So yeah, this is just interesting that this is like right at the tail end of his ministry. I just find it kind of interesting. But with this one, there's a lot more nuances than I thought there would be, because I started studying this, and okay, let's just go through it. Let's just go through it. Okay, I'll go ahead and just read through it. It's 25:14 through 30. It's only about 15 verses, so this is Jesus. This is another one of Jesus. For the kingdom of heaven is like. Okay, so just, I guess, keep that in mind. Actually, can I switch this? No, I got the King James here. Let me get a different one. English Standard. We'll go English Standard. So I'll just go ahead and start reading. For it will be like a man, meaning for the kingdom of heaven is like, for it will be like a man. See, and this is why I wanted to write this down, because there were points I wanted to bring out with this. Verse 15. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. To each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he who had the 2 talents made 2 talents more. Verse 18, but he who had received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now, after a long time, the master of those servants came and settled his accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing the 5 talents, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here I have made 5 talents more. His master said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over little, I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he also, who had 2 talents, came forward saying, Master, master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here I have made you 2 more talents. His master said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. He also, who had received 1 talent, came before him saying, Master, I knew you had to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here, you have what is yours. But his master has said to him, you wicked and slothful servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who has the 10 talents. For to everyone who has will more be given, and he will have an abundance. But from one who has not even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness, in that place where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. There's a lot here. There is a whole lot here. Hold on, there was a point I wanted to, to highlight here. So, okay, so first, what's your first impression with this, Sully?
Well, talents are actually currency. The currency was given out.
Mm-hmm.
Two of them doubled. The other one decided to double down and bury it. Either cashing or actually just...
Sounds like he more or less just dug a hole and hid it.
Right.
Yeah.
Then the teeth and everything else, that guy just sent the other guy to hell, because I could have swore that's the definition of hell, is mashing and gathering of teeth, from what I remember. So I'm just kind of, I don't know. It's interesting.
So why though? Like, what do you get out of this? Like, because a parable's a story that's supposed to relate with people about current, I say current events, but like the way that they live. So what is this parable really trying to pull out? Like, what's the point in Jesus saying this?
I honestly don't know. I wanted to reread it because it's like, okay, I'm lost. What happened here?
Do you want me to reread through it?
No, I can go over
Okay,
it if you want to go over something, and I'll discuss it from there.
Okay. Well, there's just a few things that I really wanted to bring out with this. Like,
Okay.
maybe, honestly, like maybe about 10 things that I really stood out to me. So there's a part here where it says, right here, for it will be like a man going on to a journey and called his servants and entrusted to them his property. Okay, so these are people that are not, like, this master is not a, how can I put this? He's a master that is entrusting. Heyo. Are you there, Tom?
Hello.
I don't hear you.
I am.
You do? Oh, wait.
Yes.
Oh, I got to turn my mic up or my headphones up. That's why. Good. So, okay. Well, I guess we just read through the talents. Were you listening at that point, Tom?
No, I joined late. It was bedtime time, so I went and tucked the little ones in bed.
That's okay. Did you want me to read through it real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me read through this
Yep.
again. For it will be like a man. So the kingdom of heaven is like, this is the phrase. It will be like a man going on a journey who called his servant and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, and to another, to another one, to each according to his ability. So he gave 1 5, 1 2, and 1 1. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents at once traded with them and to make 5 talents more. So also he who had 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who received the 1 talent dug into the ground and hid his master's money. Now, after a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing the 5 talents, saying, Master, Master, you delivered unto me 5 talents. Here I have made you 5 more. His master said unto him, Well done, the good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over little. I will set you over much. Enter into your master's joy. And he who also had 2 talents came forward, saying, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here I have made 2 talents more. His master also said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over little. I will set you over much. Enter into your master's joy. He also, who had received the 1 talent, came forward, saying, Master, I knew you had a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you did not scatter any seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here, you have what is yours. But his master said unto him, You wicked and slothful servant, you knew that I reap where I do not sow, and gather where I have not scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with a banker's, some versions say, with a banker's at least. At my coming, I should have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who had 10 talents. So the guy that had 5 and made 5. For to everyone who has, for to everyone who has will more be given, and he will have an abundance. But for the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness, into the place where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Okay, so what is your initial thought on this? And anybody listening or watching, you go ahead and drop your comments on this. How have you known this parable to be, I don't want to say translated, but what is it to mean? Because obviously each parable means something. The purpose in it is to compare one thing to another and give an alternate method or an alternate way of explaining one standard concept. Now, Sully, you were right about the talents, though. It's a sum of money. Although, when I looked it up, there's not a clear consensus on it. But let me put it this way, the only clear consensus that I could find was that a talent actually meant a large sum of money. It wasn't like I gave you $50. It would be like I gave you 500,000 and I wanted you to do something with it. Like it was supposed to be a great sum of money. You know, I gave like Tom $500,000. I gave you like $250,000, and then my master gave me like, 10,000, and that's
Right.
it. And you guys had a lot and I had a little, and I just kind of buried it into the hole and left it. Although with modern money, it wouldn't have lasted a long time.
Well, it's also saying the fact that it's also weight measurement too.
It is, but it's a weight measurement for money. You're correct. A talent is a weight measurement for money. That's why it's unknown, the quantity, because if you're weighing brass, that's a different value than weighing gold.
Right, because it's 80 pounds.
Right. So if it's 80 pounds of gold, though, is a different value than 80 pounds of silver.
Right.
Right.
But,
and that's why, like I said, nobody was completely, like the consensus, honestly, 1 talent the consensus that I saw, at least the closest thing, or at least the research I saw, not consensus, but the research that I saw, it was ranging all the way from literally over $500,000 down to as low as 125,000. So it was all over the board. I'm sorry, Ty. Did you have something?
Well, I think that it's also, I mean, in the parable, he's talking about money. And we all know that when he's talking specifically about money, he's not really talking about money.
No.
Good
Because
point.
why would he make it that easy? So
Right.
everybody's given. Well, what was the really cool thing that we got that the angels didn't get?
Freedom of will.
No,
Free will, right? Everybody got free will, right?
The
And
angels have free will too.
and so I believe that this is a story or a parable of people's lives. We're all given free will, and what we choose to do with it is what sets us apart. And everybody, they have the same free will, and they can invest it however they want to, however they choose. For those that will take this free will and do nothing with it, to not go out and inspire people, to not go out and try to make a difference, to not show value in what you put out there, that adds to that slothful servant. Now, is it wanting us to go out there and be millionaires? No. Was it wanting us to go out there to, be the next Billy Graham and bring in millions of people? No. This is as simple as showing a return on the investment of the free will. So this is one person affecting another person. It's you doing something with what was given to you. Something that's beneficial, something that is fruitful, something that like it also says, be fruitful and multiply. Something that you are going to take the risk in yourself, put yourself out there, and have that be the benefit of the reward at the end. Because at the end, what are we going through? We're going through visions and retellings of your life and what you've done, and this is at the end when the master comes home. He's looking at, what return on the investment was given.
Okay, so if everyone's given free will, why in the parable though is there different quantities?
Oh, I can tell you that.
Okay, because I guess with Tom's, I understand what he's talking about with the free will, but I guess I'm not catching how this perfectly correlates with the parable, because the parable it talks about, like, one of the major themes of this parable is it's talking about a quantity. So you're given 5, Tom's given 2, I'm given 1. Okay, I see the comment. I'm trying to clarify with Tom first. Do you hear me, Tom?
Yep, I hear you. Yep.
Okay.
My
Could you
audio is wonky,
clarify
so
that a little bit though about that?
Yeah. Okay, so
Free will.
everybody has different talents, right? So, like, you are a gifted artist, Justin. I've seen the work that you do. All right. So you are a gifted artist, and not everybody is skilled at art as you are. Everybody is given a different level of talent, a different level to go along with, with their free will. What are they going to do with that? We're all given different what tools, I guess you should say, to go
Okay, so
along with
you're
our free
saying
will.
in accordance with the free will,
Yeah.
that's the different quantities is what we've been given attached to that free will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we do have a question, and I think this is a great question. So from the adversary, it says, how can there be free will if God is omniscient? So I'm omniscient. So let's break that word down. Omni means all, and science means no. So literally, omniscient means all knowing. So how could we have free will if God is all knowing? And that's a great question. We have free will. Forgive me. We have free will because how can I put this? Just because God knows a decision we may make does not mean that he is the cause of that decision, which means that we do have free will, but nothing necessarily takes God by surprise, if you catch my drift. So when it comes to free will needs something. And that's why I think this is a perfect question. Free will needs one essential thing, and that is love. Free will can't work without love. That's why it's so important and it's so wonderful. Like, Sully, you know the weddings, man. They're like,
I don't know about crying them, but
right, and they're just crying. Why are they crying? Because it's so beautiful, right? It's so great. They're not crying because her dress is so beautiful, because he looks so nice up on stage. They're crying because two people that they personally know now love each other, and they have chosen by free will, by free volition, to come together in a eternal relationship. Now, how this correlates with the Lord is just because God knows the outcome of something doesn't mean that he's necessarily the causal of it, which means that in order for, the Bible says that God is love, 1 John 4:8. And if God is love, then he must create us with the capacity for Sully, you to deny him, for
Yep.
Tom to deny him. The capacity has to be there. So, like, for example, in the Garden of Eden, for example, it's a perfect example. A lot of people are like, well, why did God even make the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? He made the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, Sully, because that gives you the right, the capacity to say, okay, God, I don't want to do what you said. Because in the Garden of Eden, when it first created, there was only one rule. That's it. Just one rule. And it just says, don't eat from that tree. And if you love the Lord, if you want to be with the Lord, if you willingly choose the Lord, well, then the fact is you're not going to eat from that tree.
right.
Right. But that is a great question, though. Thank you for that. Continuing on with this, though, what I found interesting with this parable is, check this out. Let me read you just the first couple verses. So this is 14:15. So the kingdom of heaven is like, for it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted, that's important, to them his property. So this is his. Next part, it says, to one he gave 5 talents, to one he gave 2, to one he gave 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. Did you catch it?
Yep.
Why is that so important? So this master knows his servants intimately. This is kind of my point. He knows them so intimately that he knows Justin can only be trusted with 1. Sully, you can be trusted with 2. Tom can be trusted with 5. So I'm going to give Tom 5. I'm going to give you 2. Justin, okay, here you go, buddy. I'm going to give you something. I want you to try, right? But he entrusted him with something. So he gave them each according to his ability, which that to me shows intimacy.
Right.
That to me shows that this is a master that is a master that really thought this through. He wasn't just arbitrarily, willy-nilly giving out these bags of money. Actually, one version I was going through actually said bags of gold instead of talents. It actually used the term bags of gold, which I thought was interesting.
NIV says money.
Just says money?
Mm-hmm.
Like it just says 5 money?
It takes a bag of gold.
So the NIV is the one that says that?
Yeah.
5 bags of gold? Or something like that?
Take a bag of gold, and I gave 1 to 1, and 10 bags came back with 10 bags. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the one that talks about bags of gold. But I find that interesting that this master he on purpose gave his servants what they were able to do. And we find out that he obviously was able to, because when we get all the way to the end, it says, when the master, verse 26, the master answers him and says, "You wicked and slothful servant." In other words, what were you doing? What have you been doing? And I guess this is the part that really blows me away about this whole thing is this is Jesus speaking. This is another one of those really harsh sections in scripture where Jesus, I don't know, Sully, do you remember the verse when Jesus was saying, when I get to my kingdom and you're going to come to the Father, or yeah, you're going to come to the Father and say, or no, you're going to come to me and say, but we prophesied in your name, we preached in your name, we healed in your name, but I'm going to turn to the Father and say, I never knew them. I don't know these people.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really harsh, because that means that when you get to heaven, Jesus is going to be like, I don't know you. And these people also get cast into utter darkness. So it's really harsh that we have this servant that is apparently lazy, that apparently didn't do anything with what he was given. And I know, and it's I don't know, I find it kind of ironic that this weighing of money, this part of measurement called a talent, is also in the English a word known as a talent, like, you know, Sully's skilled with this, or yeah, piano fingers. But
I got talents.
I'm fancy. And another thing really stood out to me in this whole thing, which was, okay, so he gave 2, he gave 5, he gave 2. Okay, so the one who had 5,
Mm-hmm.
but he received the one. Okay, verse 19. Okay, now after a long, oh no, hold on. Nope, I want to go back. Hold on. Okay, so verse 16. Verse 16. It says, he who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them. It seems like the guy who was given the most, he's entrusted with the most, yet he immediately knows what to do. It says he at once traded with them and started making money. So it seems like he was given this talents and he went, boom, went out to town and he doubled the money instantly, right? And then he held on to it. He said, okay, this investment's done. Yeah, I mute too when you do it. So when he came back, he instantly comes back, and whenever the master comes back, actually you can probably just tap it. Hold on. Let me see. I bet I'm off now.
Yeah, you are.
I don't know. We'll see. But this guy who had 5 talents, it says in verse 16, and he who had received 5 talents went at once and traded with them and got the money. And then verse 17, it says, so also he who had 2 talents made them and went out. So it looks like these two guys, whoever they are, they were given this money and they said, okay, let's do this. And no questions asked, they just went out. And then it goes on to this other servant and it says, but he who received the 1 talent, okay, so he who received the 1 talent went and dug into the ground and hid his master's money. And then if we go down to his conversation, this is down to verse 24. Okay. He also, who had received the 1 talent, came forward saying, Master. Now, and I think there's so much here that I wish we had 2 hours to unpack this. I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gather where you scattered no seed. Verse 25. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours. This is so crucial. Who is this guy?
Gives it
So
to
like
himself.
what's his attitude toward his master?
It's more towards like himself. He actually knows the fact that he does not reap where he sows. So the fact that he doesn't, if he's not there, there's no reason to reap the reward.
Well, he's talking about the master.
Right.
He said, verse 25, verse 24. So he says, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you did not scatter seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. What is his mentality toward his master?
See, that's weird though, because the fact that it's like he's a strong man, but he also doesn't diverse himself. That's
Who,
what
the
I'm
master
hearing. The
or
master.
the one with the one talent?
No, the one with the one talent's just hiding and just actually just sitting there and going, well, I got this much amount of money. It's hidden now. At least I got that.
Right. But I noticed that he says like a lot of key stuff here. He says, I'm afraid I'm afraid of you, master. Right? And he's afraid for these reasons. I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you did not scatter seed.
Hmm.
See what I mean? Like he's got almost this misconception of the master.
Right.
The other two instantly just boom, and let's go do this.
Right.
It wasn't a big deal. But this guy, for some reason, he has this is, maybe I'm looking into this a little bit too deeply, but the one with the one talent, he is so ingrained in his mind that his master is a hard man to work for, that he was so afraid to engage in business with this guy because he was afraid that his master was going to be upset at him.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I like your upgrade.
All right, thanks.
Nice. When did you get the grand piano?
Well, it's a grand story, I got to tell you. I got this great deal on green screen, so it's.
So awesome. Oh, he was gonna have to mute. I was gonna ask him this question. I was gonna ask him the same thing that I asked you about verse 24 and 25. I know that kid.
Great fireplace back there now.
I know, isn't that place nice? I wonder where that is. I wonder if it's a real place. I bet you that place is for sale and people have seen this so many times.
Right.
So anyway, it seems like this guy's, I don't know. I feel like this parable has more to do with how people perceive the master, and how they view him. Because Tom, we were just talking about verse 20, 25 and 26. It
Okay.
says, 24, 25. Okay. So it says, and he also who had received the one talent came forward and saying, this is at the end of the one talent thing. Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, gathering where you did not scatter seed. So I was afraid. And I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours. And what I was trying to tell Sully is it seems like this whole parable is more of a story about our conception of the master rather than just about these people being able to invest their talents or skills or money or investments or whatever, or time. only because these two verses really hash out that this, as it says down in, what does it say? Verse 26, the very next verse, it says, you wicked and slothful servant. So this is a wicked and so an evil and a lazy servant. So why does he have this fear conception about the master? Because we obviously know it's wrong, because at the end of this, the master's like, whoa, you did evil. You were lazy. You did not do as you were asked. I mean, even if he would have taken his talent, like the master says later, even if you were to put it into the bank, I would have gotten more investment than zero.
This reminds me of a conversation with kids when you call them out and they're like, but and it's just a lot of excuses, right? It's like here's these talents and then they squander them, or they just don't follow through, because just doing enough to get by is enough to get by, right? And so it's like leaving food out for the kids to eat, right? And you come home and then they complain that they didn't have anything to eat. There was no way they could eat. I was afraid to eat anything. I was afraid to clean up after this or anything, because I know that you like things a particular way, and because you like things a particular way, we just didn't do it because we know that you would want it this way. And here's exactly how you left it. This is exactly how you left it. Here you go.
Oh, I kind of like where this is going, because it's taking the straight and narrow. It's that let's take the easy route and do nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's like the master knows the potential. He sees the potential. Yeah. He sees the potential, and I think one of the key things here is that the master left. Okay, the master left. He gave them this, and then he left, because it's really easy. It's really easy to do what you're supposed to do when your master's right there. Yeah, because you're going to be held to task. It's really easy to do that, but when he's gone, that's when the backsliding starts. That's when the slacking starts. That's when everything else that could go wrong would go wrong, and that's where the real test of the person happens. The ones that are like going to be the go-getters, and you know what, they don't know when they're coming back. But everyone else is doing the best with what they have to show something for it in the end.
Right, because the other two, Sully and I were just talking about, the other two, it says that they went right away to go to the marketplace and to make it, like, basically get a return on this investment instantly. Now we don't know if it was over the master was gone for a long time frame, or it makes it seem like it was right away. Like they instantly went out and got double their money back, and they're like, okay, good. Now I can give it to the master when the time comes. Yeah. And just hitting off of your one point about the master and what they were given, it says it in verse 15. He gave each according to his ability, which means that the master was purposeful when it came to this.
With great power comes great responsibility.
All right, quiz time.
What?
Where was that from?
Uncle Ben.
Oh, good man. Not the rice, guys. And I also find it interesting. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. Verse 28. So take the talent from him, give it to him who has the 10 talents.
So now he has 11.
Now he has 11. Yeah. That, or maybe he has 0 because he gave the 10 to the master. So now he has 1 again, and the master's like, hey, I got another job for you. Here's this 1. I want you to do something with it. But it just seems like this master is,
It's a bit of toxic. It's a bit of toxic parenting, if you ask me. A little bit of toxic parenting. You know what? You don't want it. You know what? We'll give it to your brother. You know what? You don't want to do anything.
Well, it goes beyond that, Tom, because right after this, the wicked and slothful servant, the wicked and lazy guy, is cast into utter darkness. He's out of the equation now. So the only two that are left are the ones that were able to produce, the ones that were that didn't squander.
Yeah. Why can't you be like your brother?
This is beyond that. It's more like, oh, you didn't. You're kicked out of the family. Like you're disowned. And I'm gonna take this away and give it to you. Like it's.
I don't think it's Spartans 300
It's
right
heavy.
now. Like he's been kicked into the abyss.
Well,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, this is my tangent for right now.
Well, I'm just saying, when you look at this, though, we're talking about the kingdom of heaven.
Right.
So I believe it's safe to assume that Jesus here is talking about, because this is the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of heaven is like, he's talking about the end of days, final judgment type of stuff. So what this is talking about is for those who claim to be in the know when it comes to God, when it comes to Christ, because there's a lot of people in the Christian church that are in the Christian church with the mindset, or not the mindset, a misconception of God's character. And they're in it, and they are literally being, I say being, they're following a Christian faith, we'll say. And they're doing the rituals, they're doing all this stuff, right? And they think that that's saving them, and they are in it because they're afraid of the master. Do you understand what I'm saying? And they sit on their hands and do nothing, because I'm saying, if this is talking about the kingdom of heaven, if this is talking about the end of days, like I say beyond past the end of days, it's just talking about the judgment, then this is talking about those who will be cast into the lake of fire and destroyed, the utter darkness. That's another phrase for that. And if this is talking about the very, very end, because it does say that he doesn't come for a long time, so maybe that's what he's talking about here, that, you know, Jesus returning hasn't happened yet. But if that's what it's talking about, then this is talking about, because how can I put this? These three people that were involved, they worked for the master. You know, you don't work for someone who's not your master. So these people are in the master's employ, which means they are of the master. They're not outsiders. So they're not outside contractors that are being hired to come in. These are people going to the master, and the master saying, hey, I need you to do something, need you to do something, need you to do something. So it seems like this is the master, if we can kind of directly compare this, because this is a parable. So if we could directly compare this to Christianity today, then what we find is these are three people in God's community, somehow, that are in God's community, no matter what, to what degree, what denomination, we don't know any of those details. But what we are finding is that two of them took, exactly like what Tom was saying, like the things they've been given, the resources, can I just say resources, whether it be talents or whatever resources God has given them, and they did something with them. But then the third one said, I'm afraid of the master, I'm afraid of God. This God is a really harsh, almost diabolical. I don't want to get on his bad side. I want to be able to have something to give him back. So I'm just going to bury this. Am I off on this?
Did it say fear?
Let's break this apart. Go ahead.
Did it say fear?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, go to verse
25, 24.
I pull it up.
Go to verse 25.
Where are we at again?
I was afraid.
Matthew 25:25.
Then I was petrified.
Actually, read, Tom, go ahead and read out loud 24, 25. 24 and 25.
Matthew 25, 24, and 25.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah.
That's funny. Both of these actually say, "So I was afraid, then I was petrified." Sorry.
Don't make me dance.
Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that
He's
you are a
reading
hard
me too.
man, harvesting where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you.
See, that's why I'm saying if we can compare this to the church today, it almost seems like this guy's a girl, whomever. There's someone who's in the church. God approached them, gave them XYZ resources, and they did absolutely nothing with them. So when the judgment time came, when the master returned, they literally had nothing to show. Kind of like the whole, and we've said this before, like it's kind of like, you say the magic prayer, poof, now you're saved. Well, no, there's a repentance, there's a growth, there's, this is a relationship here. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I think this, it's not, you might have said afraid. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold. So there's a lot of things that people can be afraid of. All right, let's dissect that a little bit. All right, so they're afraid. Sure. So what are driving factors from fear or being afraid of somebody?
Unknown. Past experiences.
Yep. So unknown. So he didn't know his master very well. He didn't know him as well as he thought he should. And so this reminds me, and I hope you guys call me out in the comments here if you think I'm way off base. All right. So this reminds me of a people group, a large body of Christ, a part of the body, if you will, the ones that kind of subscribe to the, Christ is coming back, so we just have to hold our ground until he gets here. All right, so it's not our job to be the saviors. It's not our job to be Christ on earth. It's our job to hold the candle, to be the light in the darkness. That's a cliche, I know. To be the light in the darkness until Christ comes back. Because when Christ comes back, then everything's going to be okay.
So you don't mean growth, discipleship. You mean just hold the fort.
Yep, just hold the fort. Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know if I would call you out on that. That sounds. Yeah, I mean, my perception and let me know if I'm going down the same tracks that you are. It seems to me like this servant doesn't know his master.
Exactly.
It seems like he has preconceived notions of his master because it says, okay, I know you're a hard man. I know you reap where you do not sow and you gather where you do not save. So, and then that's the cherry on top of the icing is, so I was afraid. So in other words, he has this, quite frankly, I mean, I believe it based upon the story itself, it seems like he has the wrong idea of the master. So he would rather just bury it, just hold down the fort. Is that kind of where you're going with this? Or am I off?
Yeah, exactly. No.
Okay.
That's exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
And it's.
So he's tapping his fingers.
I mean, this is like that rock that hits the windshield that splinters off into all these minor thoughts. Like you just said, I said the prayer. Now I'm saved. I don't have to go to church. I don't have to do all this stuff because I'm saved, right? Once you have salvation, you always have salvation. Christ is in my heart, and I will tell everybody, yes, I'm a Christian. Yes, I said the prayer, I'm a Christian. Yes.
And that's as far as it goes.
That's as far as it goes. I got it. I'm going to hide it here. I'm going to hide it right there. Yeah, I'll bring it out, and I'll show it to whoever asks about it, because if they know about it, yes, it's here. But then I'm going to put it right back in here again, and it's going to keep it safe.
That reminds me of a song. Don't hide your bushel under your lamp. Yeah, blow it out.
So I want to play devil's advocate.
Go for it. We already had the adversary jump in, so
him not knowing the master, him not knowing the plan, was he actually given clear directions though?
Well, I think so. I think that's a great question though, but I think so because of verse 15.
15.
Right.
Okay. Let's
go ahead and read
15.
verse 15.
All right, 16, 15. And upon one, I give 5 talents, another 2 talents, and then another 1 talent. To every man accounts to his savor abilities and strengths will take his journey.
Right. Mine says to each according to his ability.
Right.
So it sounds to me like the master specifically gave Justin 1 because he knew Justin could only handle 1.
I get
Do you
that.
understand what I'm saying?
I get that.
Okay.
Because we can break it down to even like
Go ahead.
the shop. Okay.
I was just gonna go there, buddy. I was just gonna go.
What?
I was just gonna go there. Like, okay, one person is able to run 2 machines, another person is able to run 1 machine, and then depending on the machine, you're gonna have to have 2 people run 1 machine. Okay, that's always happens, but there's several people that can actually take that one job that runs 2 people and run it just as fast as 2 people. And it's one
You're talking
person.
about a single person running one process with one person.
Yep.
When its standard is 2.
Yep. And then they're also their abilities to do that. So that's what we're talking about.
Yes.
Let's say the fact that one person that is actually talented was not given correct direction. Correct motivation, correct direction, which in motivation, actually the breakdown of it means moment. So if it's not the correct motivation and correct movement, your abilities are lacking. Now, I'm not saying the fact that person did not take initiative and try to figure it out and ask questions. Like, so why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? That makes sense to me.
Right. And I like where you're going with that, but we got to keep in mind that is up to the servant.
Right.
That's up to the employee. That's up to the worker to ask those questions. But because verse 14, where this whole starts, is this: for it will be like a man going on a journey. So this is the master who called his servants and entrusted them. We can stop right there and just hold on to that right there. That means that there is an intimate relationship between the master and his servants, and the master specifically called them. Now, when Scripture says "and they were called," like they were called over, it literally means, okay, they were called for a purpose. Like, I'm calling my master or my servants in specifically. I want these 3, and I have a job for them. Like, I think that's easily intimatable.
Okay.
If that's a word.
Yeah. So,
although I like where you're going, because it would have been up to the guy
this,
with the 1 talent to do something about it, to engage with it. Go ahead.
Okay.
We're gonna stay on this tangent of the shop. All right. So.
Okay.
So if we know that we've all worked, well, us 3 anyways, have worked with those people that like to sandbag. All right.
Define sandbag.
Sandbag. They will do a bunch of work up front so that they can backslide the rest of the day and still hit.
You're talking about showing out
their numbers. Yes.
Yep.
So I'm only expected to do this much. Then this much is all I'm going to do.
So if you were supposed to make 100 parts in a day, you
all
knock out
100
6
parts.
hours in, 7 hours in.
Then they're done. And then you get the ones that have the 5 talents, the 2 talents that are like, okay, I've hit my quota. Hey, I'm going to take the initiative. I need more stuff out here for me to do. And boom, kick out more.
Yep.
Hey, I got this. Boom, kick out more. This is my talent. This is what I'm able to do. I'm going to go above and beyond. My boss is expecting me to do this. Man, how much nicer is it going to be when he comes back and sees that I did this, and he's going to be proud of me. Where the person that had the 1 talent was like, well, I was given this to work with, and this is what I'm going to give back.
Right. Although I think it's far. Oh, go ahead. Go finish your thought.
Because it's all about the dedication. It's all about the forethought and the conviction, and the conviction of the workers, of the ones that they were entrusted.
But it seems to me. Whoop, I think I just skipped there.
What happened?
Tom, is my voice like really delayed?
Oh,
Godzilla.
you're frozen.
Am
I
I
am not.
frozen? I better not be.
No, we're good. But
Alright,
it's
hold
just
on.
the battery's low on the laptop. That's probably why. I was wondering why the screen went kind of black.
Sorry.
Are my voice is my voice matching my mouse for you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
This side or that side?
So, may I ask who is he talking to? Who is he delivering the parable to?
yeah, we're gonna lose your mic.
Oh
You can pop it off and use the mic on this. You're gonna have to.
no. Okay.
I gotta
Who
put
is
the
he
dog
telling the parable
right
to?
back. Yeah, I'll be
It
back in
was
2 minutes.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna have to. I just muted everybody but me, so
Okay. I can hear you.
you're gonna have to figure out your mic now.
Why is this still glowing?
Is it still on? Oh no! All right, well, here.
You want to shut it off?
No, leave it on for a sec. Actually, is there an audio jack over there? Plug it in.
Yes, it is.
Plug it in.
Oh, I thought that was
Nope.
an audio jack.
It's not.
Why does that look like an audio jack and there's not one?
It's
there?
probably the charger.
There it is.
Well, this is gonna be an episode for the record books.
Oh man, yeah, we're having a lot of technical difficulties. So Jesus is given this parable right after the parable of the 10 virgins. And the parable of the 10 virgins is it's almost identical to this. It's about virgins that were supposed to be ready for the bridegroom, but were not. So this is still talking about people who claim to be in the inner circle, but are not consistent with what they're claiming.
Well, he has Jesus, has a knack for choosing his words wisely to the group of people that he's with. So who is he saying the parables to?
Oh, you mean specifically? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is when Jesus does a series of parables. Jesus left the temple and was going away when his disciples came to point out to him the buildings of the temple. This is in chapter 24. Okay. And then Jesus starts talking about the end of time, and he starts talking about the abomination of desolation, and he continues on in verse 24. And then he talks about the coming of the Son of Man. So he talks about, Jesus talks about the second coming. And then he gives the lesson of the fig tree. And then it talks, this is all about the end of days. So this is still in or chapter 24. And then he talks about nobody knows the day or the hour.
He's sitting on the mountain of olives. So he's delivering this to his disciples.
Yes. Yes, he is. He is specifically with his disciples, because just before this, he was talking to them about the end of days, because he gave prophetic stuff in the temple, and then they couldn't explain it. Actually, Sully,
then this means
go to your settings.
Then that means that it gets a little bit heavier, because now he's talking to the body of his church. He's speaking directly to his church.
He's talking to his inner circle. This is what I'm saying. Yeah. And the parable of the 10 virgins are inner circle stuff.
And so
it's people who should know but weren't. Right. And the parable of that's why I'm saying I think the parable of the 10 talents, I think it's talking about his servants. He's talking about the inner circle. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's talking to you guys. He's like, hey, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Luke wasn't there. Yeah. There was Paul.
Yep, select the one that'll work. I don't know what'll work.
But Simon, Peter, Andrew, all you guys, listen up here. I'm talking to you. And every one of these is talking about, especially when, then the master leaves. So he's going to be gone, first is 3 days. Like, yeah, you thought I'd be gone longer. And then he shows back up. But,
Right.
And then he leaves again. But that's who he's talking about. This is exactly, it's to his church. It's to the people that are going to carry on his work after him.
Yeah.
And
So go ahead.
He's talking to those that are with him, that know him, that see how he responds to people, that see how he does things. This whole, was it 24 and 25? That, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. That's Jesus in a nutshell. Like, he just wanders around and then people flock to him.
And Jesus sent out the disciples.
Yep. And so
Jesus was scattering seed when he was here, but Jesus' greater investment is not in his investment. It's in the investments of all.
But think of the lady at the well. The lady at the well who Jesus approached.
Yeah.
And yes, there was talk of Jesus and his crew, but she didn't know him from me or you. And still he had an impact on her. So he's harvesting seed for where he didn't sow. So that's his MO. And that's how his disciples know him. So this would be the least of these, looking at, well, I don't want to call out any disciples that were bad disciples per se, but
well, there was one we know that betrayed.
There was one, that was cast aside too of his own fruition.
Are they both
about that? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I hear you.
Oh, I hear you. Echo.
So Sully's on.
Yeah.
So it's Justin.
Justin.
You want me to shut this one off? Oh, this one's already off.
Welcome to Biblical Chili.
So yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, I think it was inner circle stuff. Like, I think the whole thing was inner circle, and that's what he was trying to portray here. Was it could, because you brought up a great point, Tom. Well, who is he talking to? Well, he's talking to his friends. He's talking to the inner circle, and up to this point, we got to think about this too. At this point, Judas had been with them for a long time, and the thing is Judas, and here's the interesting thing, is Judas even was of the 70 that went out and did miracles.
And Judas was the one that was most well versed with money. Him and Matthew.
Ooh. This is what?
Matthew was a banker.
He was, yes, he was the tax collector. But Judas was the one who had the money purse.
Yeah, he was the controller of the money of the group.
Oh.
Nothing like pointing the finger. Yeah, someone's going to be the...
This seems to me, honestly, seriously, this seems to me like Jesus was trying to reach Judas on like a whole nother level. Do you see what I mean? Like, now think about this for just like 2 minutes here. Jesus probably knew that something was up for a while. I'm sure Jesus knew. I'm sure the Holy Spirit talked to him and helped him to know, right? So here's the thing. He talks about the parable of the 10 virgins and about how half of them were cast into utter darkness. Same parable. They, like, just before this one. Then he talks about the parable of the talents, and this person's cast into utter darkness. What's the next one? The next story, he talks about the final judgment. So, like, it seems to me like Jesus is giving warning after warning after warning and after warning. When we first started this out, Tom, this is chapter 25 in Matthew. There's only 28 chapters in Matthew, And Matthew gives one of the better accounts of Jesus' crucifixion, which means that this is just before he was crucified.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally moments before he was crucified. Because right after this, I believe he goes into, plot to kill Jesus. Judas betrays, like right after this. So like this is that night. So Jesus is given all these parables.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. Hey, Judas, you don't have to do this, buddy. You don't have to follow through with this.
But, that becomes that's a whole nother rabbit hole conversation.
It is.
That was meant to be and stuff. But it's interesting because I've seen so many sermons. I've seen so many sermons preached on these parables, and I think that the targeted audience is always muted in the sermon because they turn the sermon into their sermon for the day. That it's kind of lost on who this was really spoken to. To paint the full picture. Hey, this is to the disciples, and this is Jesus talking to his disciples. And sometimes those questions don't come up in church, in big sermons.
What are the standard sermon, or what's the standard explanation for this message? In your experience.
In my experience, this passage has always been a go-to as a reinforcement for other points that are being made in sermons. Like, oh yes, remember, we are talking about people being trusted with a lot. This is like the parable of the.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So this has never been like a foundation. It's always been like a post in the house.
Right, and I think that even we've been we've covered this before, and we've fallen victim to it too.
I'm sure
we're so focused on this is a great message. But then we have to take a step back and say, oh, wait, this message, although it does imply to a larger scale on the body of Christ, but this was actually to Jesus and his buddies, Jesus and the people that he rode with, lived with, ate with every single day, and so this was a very heavy, very intimate, very personal parable where it's like, I can't tell you guys what the kingdom of heaven is. I can't tell you what's going to happen next, but let me tell you this story. And those of you that are listening will understand this. Those of you that aren't, that might be anxious and panicked, and you're going to miss it. And the fact that he missed it tells me that he was anxious, nervous, panicked. The church is on our tails. I'm seeing all these really cool things come from Jesus, all these miracles that nobody can explain. But, my feet's going to get held to the fire over this, and I would rather choose my life than lose it. It didn't work out well for him, but
yeah, man, I feel like there's still so much more in here, because if this is about, and I don't want to go too much deeper into this, but if this is truly about, at least in part, not I wouldn't say exclusively, but in part about followers of Christ that came in, or that are in, I'll say in the church, or in God's, in Christ's body, that are there, but not producing, that there is, or not even not producing. I don't even think producing is the right word. I think honestly, growth. If there's zero growth, zero multiplication, so no, like you said, Tom, I think you said it so perfectly. Yes, I have this light. Let me show it to you. Did you ask specifically for this light? Yeah. Okay. I am. Okay. Now put it back, and although the result is in verse 30, it is really harsh. The result is really, really harsh, but I think it's harsh because in a real sense, if we know, if we are in the body of Christ, producing nothing, no growth, but like you said, Tom, hey, yes, I've said the prayer once, and it was when I was 15, and yeah, here it is. And I might go, I might visit a church every now and then when somebody dies, or, I might pray when things are really bad, these things where, I know I'm giving, like things you're doing, but it does inevitably come to where your heart is. But it seems like this is really harsh, because I think Christ is on purpose being brisk and brash about this and saying, hey, listen, no, this is serious. You can't live a lie. You know, you're claiming to be of the body of Christ. Well, then be of the body of Christ. Don't just be. You know, I don't want this. It's weird, but don't just be. But okay, do you guys have anything else? Otherwise, we can kind of shut this down. It's about an hour and 10 minutes, and I love this. I know we had a little bit of technical difficulty, but hopefully I can get the mics and the videos back up and running properly.
Just a quick, did you know?
Yeah.
The very last verse 28.
30?
28.
28?
Yeah.
I thought it ends on 30.
No, it ends on 46.
What?
What?
46? For this parable?
Parable of bags of gold. Oh, yeah, you're right. It ends in 30. Yeah, some verse 30.
Okay. I was like, man, what Bible are you reading, man?
And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. I just did a quick Google search because I've read that a lot. And I was like, how many times, if you were to guess, how many times has that phrase shown up in the Bible?
Weeping of or where there would be weeping and gnashing of teeth?
Yeah.
I want to say like 5.
Close.
Yeah.
9. No, sorry, 7 times.
7 times?
The phrase weeping and gnashing of teeth appears 7 times in the Bible, with the phrase appearing in 9 instances in total. In the Old Testament, gnashing of teeth is usually an act of persecution, except in Psalms 112, verse 10.
Yeah, because I thought gnashing of teeth was like growling at somebody, like that kind of thing. Although I don't fully understand it, because I've heard so many different.
To show one is angry, upset, etc.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not too far.
Frustration. Yeah. But like how it always is that it's thrown into the darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. So this whole frustration is in the dark. It's like you're just cast out of the light. You are cast, into the dark where the wild things are.
Well, when you're in the dark, that's also symbolism of being away from the truth, because Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. Yeah. And if he is, if the word of God is a light into our path and a lamp unto our feet, then yeah. So you are out of the truth then, because you're not in the truth anymore. And that's got to be so sad, because if you're in outer darkness and crying and gnashing your teeth, that means you're sad and just completely frustrated at everything. And if you're in the darkness, what's anybody going to do about it? Seriously, like if you're weeping and gnashing your teeth in the darkness, you're lost to know who can find you. You're in the darkness. Like you can't be found. It's just, yeah. I don't want to read into it too much, but it seems like Jesus on purpose was giving these type of harsh, brisk things. Like even the parable just before, it doesn't say weeping and gnashing of teeth, but it says, afterward the virgins came also saying, Lord, Lord, open up to us. But he answered, truly I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore and know, watch therefore, so you do not know the day or nor the hour. So
think of the burden of that. Think of the burden of being the boss. Let's say, Sully, you know that your crew members have the ability to be promoted. You know that there's great things in their future if they just toe the line, but you can't tell them how to act. You can't tell them what's in store for them. You can't promise them that you, Sully, are going to be the supervisor or the plant, the plant manager. you are going to be the plant manager if you do X, Y, and Z. No, you can only hint. You can only drop subtleties. You'd want to be able to say, hey, let me pull you out to the side and I'm going to tell you all these cool things, but you just can't. So like, how would you guys convey that? I have a lot of respect for Jesus in that he knows everything and has his tight little group that he can't say anything, but then he likes to tell these stories. So like, come on, are you picking up what I'm putting down here? Like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Just do it.
I don't even think it was like things that he almost like was secretive and couldn't say, but I think it's stuff that they couldn't comprehend. Like, I think it's beyond that. I think Jesus was like, okay, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who owns a field, and then he's off to the races and he's trying to explain this stuff that they have nothing to compare it to. And they're just, yeah. Yeah.
I digress. That's right.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I think this was good, but I think in the end, I think all of us, we have to, if we're claiming to be of a specific master. I apologize. I have a question. Do you believe in universalism, eternal consciousness, conscious torment, or annihilation? Well, I personally fall under the annihilation camp because it says that everybody's going to be thrown into the lake of fire. Not everybody. I'm sorry, not everybody, but well, actually, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, good question. First of all, but let me explain all three of these so that nobody's confused. Universalism means that everybody gets saved, and eternal conscious torment means eternal conscious torment, that somehow God is going to eternally torment those who are going to go into hell or go into, some say, the grave or Gehenna or Hades, some people say, but a hell. So like a conscious torment. So they're going to be down there consciously tormenting forever. Or annihilation. Annihilation literally just means annihilation. So all of those who are wicked or therefore didn't want to follow, I shouldn't say follow Satan, but didn't want to follow God, did not love God. There comes a time when God is going to have to destroy it all. I fall under the annihilation camp because I believe personally that when sin is annihilated, all of those of us who are still attached to sin and we don't have Christ, the one who detaches us from it, then those people will also be thrown into the lake of fire, because it says that the false prophet will be thrown in there and destroyed, and Satan will be destroyed, and so on and so forth. But I fall under that camp. So I guess, what do you guys fall under? I guess maybe he's asking all of us, or she's asking all of us. The adversary. So I don't know if that's a guy.
Adversary. I would say I don't fall into any of the three.
Okay.
I've adapted into this Christocentric point of view with Christianity, to the point where if we follow Christ's teachings, how he lived his life, how he interacted with people day to day, the commandments that he put out there, it doesn't matter what happens after that. Because what will be, we don't have any power of it. And it's like worrying about things that's going to happen tomorrow.
Okay, so you just take, so universe. Yeah, so you don't take any three. You're just kind of like it'll be what it'll be.
Yeah, because
it's outside of our control kind of thing.
Exactly. Because if you
point,
plant yourself in any of those three, looking at the end goal affects how you respond today. Whether it is out of respect or fear, it affects how you interact and the reasons why you interact. But if you go with the in my opinion, it's probably flawed, like I am, but Christocentric is, you love like Christ, you live like Christ, will bad things happen to us? Yeah, bad things happen to him too. Real bad things. But in the end, we don't control it. All we have to do is live and love every day. Love your neighbor as yourself, right? Love God.
And if
that's all
truth be told, Tom, it's sometimes people can be of so heavenly minded that they're of no earthly good. So I don't blame you. I honestly don't. There's a lot of people in churches I visited where they like talking about heaven a whole lot. Well, okay, that's great and it's interesting and it's great, but like we're not, and I appreciate that you're talking about like the end goal. We're not talking about hitting a soccer ball into a goal. We're talking about having a relationship with our Creator here. Sully, did you want to weigh in on that?
See, the way I look at it, I don't want to be put in one of the camps, not for the same reason Tom is, but due to the fact that I just don't want to be disappointed when I get there and there's no like lake of fire, none of this. Like, I'm normally cold anymore, and it'd be greatly disappointing to me if there's no like lake of fire or fire and brimstone. I'm just saying, like.
All right, guys. Well, we went a little bit over. I appreciate all of the questions. The adversary, I think honestly, those are very relevant questions. I love those, and especially this one. I really like these type of questions. So let me see if I can get this rolling. All right, everybody. Whoop. Go ahead.
And for those
Sully.
There we go. Thanks again for listening, everybody. I know we heard Justin. He was mimicking Charlie Brown's mom. But we appreciate you guys listening. We appreciate your questions. We'll talk to you guys next week.
All right.
This has been Tom.
Bye, everybody.